Previously on Third and Roll.
Happy Dominion Day as we enter 1980. The sun was shining and will again someday, now in a overcast Ottawa as we gather around the football field.
Jerry Organ, this kick would win the game. It's up. It's got the distance. Oh, but it's wide to the left.
When did overtime start?
To break the times frame that we're in, I can make an historical note that according to CFLDB, the Canadian Football League first introduced overtime for regular season games in 1986.
Wow. Tie in the first game of the season. Can you believe it?
We paid for blood! Let's tear this place apart!
It is an age of Canadian football domination. In the West, the Edmonton Eskimos are a dynasty without equal. Behind the quarterback tandem of Tom Wilkinson and Warren Moon, the Eskimos won 5 consecutive Grey Cup championships between 1978 and 1982. In the East, 4 teams battle it out through a 6-game season to see who will meet Edmonton in the championship game. The Toronto Argonauts have not hoisted a Grey Cup since 1952. Will this be their year? Let's find out. This is Third and Roll.
Welcome to Third and Roll, a Canadian football board game podcast. This is the podcast where we play the 1985 board game Canadian Armchair Football and role play a Toronto Argonauts broadcast. My name is Spencer. This is my brother Alex. Today is the penultimate game of the 1980 season. The Argos are at home against the third place Ottawa Rough Riders. This game will potentially determine, will the Argos be able to host a playoff game, or will they have to go on the road? For now, I'm going to throw it to our man in the studio, Ron Booman, with the pregame show. Ron, take it away.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ron Booman. Welcome to the Canadian Armchair Football Podcast. On Monday, October 13th, 1980, Thanksgiving Monday here in Toronto, and we give thanks for football. Thank you for being football. And on a day when the parliaments are closed, we have important parliamentary business to conduct on the green rectangle. So to preview the action, I throw it over to Mr. Brett Brannigan.
Ron, you inspire me sometimes. The way you can weave Canadian politics into anything regarding Canadian football, or really anything that you're talking about whatsoever, I am truly impressed by it. But can you guess how I'm feeling today? I am livid! Ron, the display by the Toronto Argonauts last week was absolutely appalling. Losing to the last place Montreal Alouettes have put them in a terrible position. The Argos were getting ready to run away with the East Division, and now they have to fight. The Argos are tied for first with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They are going to be facing Hamilton next week, which will likely determine who will host the East Final. But first things first, today they have the Ottawa Rough Riders. Behind the great arm of Conredge Holloway, are these Ottawa Rough Riders going to come into Toronto and show them who's boss? I certainly hope not, because I am going, as always, with the Toronto Argonauts. I think they're going to win. I think they are going to put on a real Thanksgiving show and give Ottawa absolutely nothing to be thankful for. So, Ron, I gotta say, let's get the football action going. I'm ready to go. I got my leg of turkey right here in front of me. I got my mashed potatoes. Let's get it going. Let's go.
Well, thank you, Brett. And I'm hearing through my earpiece that our correspondents in the booth are ready for the action. So I send you to your favorite correspondents in Canadian Armchair Football, Eduard Welch and Norman Knuckleberger.
Well, Ron, thank you very much for that. It is me, Eduard Welch, up here in the booth. I am, of course, accompanied by my longtime co-host, Norman Knuckleberger. Norman, I see that the teams are getting out onto the field. Looks as though we are going to have a coin toss. From the Argonauts, we have none other than Terry Greer. Terry Greer, the great wide receiver, is walking out there. He's got a bit of a bounce in his step. He wants to put on a show for these hometown Toronto Argonauts fans. And on the other side, who do we have? Robert Sparks, the great cornerback for the Ottawa Rough Riders, getting out there. They have their dice in hand. Let's see who is going to win the coin toss.
Why flip a coin with only 2 sides when you can throw dice with 6 sides? That's how we do it in this league.
More outcomes, more excitement. Here we go. Terry Greer has rolled a 6. That's going to be hard to beat.
Well, that was a decisive victory, and so thank you for listening to the game, and see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.
Third and roll isn't.
Terry Greer is giving a little tap on his nose to the referee, and he's pointing at the other guys, so the Argos will defer. The Argos will receive the ball to start the second half, but they are going to be kicking off to Ottawa to start the game. Coming out onto the field for the Argos is none other than
Zenon Andrushishin.
He is getting ready to kick the ball.
So we have a booming 60-yard kickoff.
Looks as though there is some scrambling there on the sidelines, trying to figure out where we are on the field. And with that, a 65-yard line would bring it all the way down to the goal line.
Well, it seems like the line judge is still getting warmed up here. You know, he likes to have a few short yardage situations, you know, before he starts running up and down the field. He likes to have a nice, easy start to the game, moving those sticks.
Okay, and back to receive the kickoff, we have Robert Sparks for the Ottawa Rough Riders. He's got it at his own goal line. And he brings it up to the 20-yard line. So from there, it is going to be first down Ottawa from their own 20-yard line.
I like the fact that this kickoff went right to the goal line, because now we're going the full field here.
This is Jamal Campbell, number 67, offensive tackle from the Toronto Argonauts. You're listening to Third and Roll, a Canadian football board game podcast.
So Conredge, Holloway, and co. are coming out onto the field. Looks as though they are going to Crump. It's going to be an off left tackle. And Crump picks up 8. Crump picks up 8 before he was brought down by Ron Southwick. So with that, it's going to be a easy 2nd and 2 for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Going right back to the running play. And who is there to meet Crump? None other than Bruce Clark. Bruce Clark stops him for no gain there on the play. So this is going to bring up an early decision point for this rookie head coach from Ottawa. It's 3rd and 2. Norman, what are they going to do?
Looks like they're staying on the field.
What are they thinking? What are they thinking? It is right back to Richard Crump. Going to the right-hand side this time. And Crump gets only 1 yard. Oh, goodness me. He was tackled there by Bruce Clark and Ron Southwick doing a little bit of teamwork there to bring them down.
Well, I have to hand it to Ottawa for having the gumption to go for it on 3rd and 2.
I agree. It does show a lot of gumption on the road. The second last game of the regular season, they are deciding to go for it, but it did not work out there. They needed to, they only got 1, and it's going to be a turnover on downs. So it's going to be
First down, Toronto.
So we have Terry Greer coming right back onto the field with Mark Jackson and Terry Metcalf, and they are ready to take this offense. They've got a short field at the Ottawa 29-yard line. They are going out to Metcalf with an off left tackle. Metcalf gets stuffed. Nothing there for Metcalf. He was met there by Mike Raines. Mike Raines, the linebacker for the Ottawa Rough Riders, was there to stop him for no gain, so it's going to be 2nd and 10 from the Ottawa 29-yard line. Not the start that the Argos were looking for there, Norman, was it?
Well, I don't know. Are these defensive lines playing right now, or are these defensive walls?
It is the defensive line show today, so let's see if they can break through. Jackson looks like he's going to go. He's going to keep the ball in his hands now. He's going for a pass from option. 2nd and 10 from the 29. And that tip is up. The pass is up. He's looking for Greer down the right-hand sideline. It is up in the air, and it is incomplete. Incomplete. Robert Sparks came flying over to the right-hand side and slapped that ball away. So it's going to be
Third down.
3rd and 10 now for the Argos from the 29-yard line. Norman, not exactly a dazzling offensive display that we're seeing so far today, is it?
Well, we could call it a dazzling defensive display if anybody talked like that.
Absolutely. You're always a glass half full type guy, Norman. That's why we love you. Coming back onto the field, doesn't seem like it's been that long since he was off. We have none other, the big Zed himself.
Zenon Andrushishin.
He is on for the field goal.
Kicker is consulting his strategy chart.
I see Zenon has stuck his finger in his mouth and put his finger up in the air. He is discerning the wind. Looks as though it's a slight southeasterly wind. He is adjusting in his head. The kick is up. And it is good. It is good. So with that, it is going to be 3-0 Argos with 8 minutes left in the first quarter. What ho there, listener. Edward Welch here. Thank you for coming into my parlor. Please have a seat. You can see I'm sitting here in my cozy double blue armchair. I like to sit in armchairs because Canadian armchair football has played a very important part in my life. People often say, Edward, you like to casually mention in conversation that you went to Eton. And I did. And the next thing that they always say is, you don't sound English at all. And I say, that's true. I've worked very hard at concealing my accent. But my family has not been English for long. My father, James Welch, was born in the colonies in Montreal, Quebec. But then he came back to the motherland in the 1930s to work as the private secretary of the captain of the Gentlemen-at-Arms. Yes, the Earl of Lucan himself, Colonel George Charles Bingham. My father did not like football. He used to tell me, Edward, cricket is a game for gentlemen. Rugby is a game for men. And football is a game for the plebeians. He said, football is a boorish sport, he said to me. But I didn't believe him. I always knew that when I came of age, I was going to come here to Canada to devote my life to Canadian football. And in this series, Edward Welch's Grapes of the Past, I will be sharing my history as well as the history of the Toronto Argonauts. I see I'm getting a call on the line from Norman. I'm going to have to take that, so if you could please show yourself out. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for that small indulgence. We have Zenon back on to kick the ball off to the Ottawa Rough Riders. It is 3-0 for the hometown Toronto Argonauts.
I'm hearing that there's some kind of room with a fireplace here, because that sounds kind of nice. It's a little chilly up here in the booth.
It is quite surprising that I've actually never had you over, Norman. That's been a bit of a failing on my part. So we have Zenon with the kick. That is a 60-yard kick that's going to bring the ball down to the 5-yard line. Robert Sparks is there. And he's got a 25-yard return. So that's bringing it up to the 30-yard line. So we have Holloway going to keep the ball in his own hands. It's a pass from option. And that ball is complete. That ball is complete. That is a 15-yard pickup. A 15-yard pickup to Tony Gabriel, and he picks up an additional 6. So that is going to be a net 21-yard pickup, bringing them all the way to their own 51-yard line. So a nice offensive display there. That is the first down of the game.
And the first time Ottawa's actually passing, it looks like Toronto was getting ready for yet another run there. But they go to the air.
It's all about misdirection. Holloway hands it off to Crump. Crump with a reversal, and Crump loses 2 yards. Bruce Clark is there to push him back. saying, get back into your own end. So with that, it's going to be 2nd and 12 now for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Okay, there's a look of desperation in Holloway's eye. He wants to go deep. He wants to push the ball deep. It's a long pass to Gabriel, and that play is... It's caught! It's caught! That was a 30-yard pickup by Gabriel running down the seam. He is dancing, and who comes over? None other than the Argos defensive back, Preston Young, and he strips the ball. He strips the ball. Gabriel, they always tell you, hold the ball like a baby, not like a loaf of bread. You gotta have 2 hands on the ball at all times. He did not do that there, and it cost them dearly. That is the 2nd turnover of the game for Ottawa.
Well, I don't know how you hold a loaf of bread, but I like to make sure when I'm holding my bread that, it's really quite secure there.
Fair point, Norman. Fair point. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Todd Gray, who has a very special Thanksgiving interview with a very special lady. Wow. Well, thank you so much for that, Eduard. I am here with a very, as you put it, a very important lady. Sitting in front of me, she does not do interviews very often. In fact, this may be the first time she's ever had a sit-down interview. But she's agreed to do it. Please welcome none other than Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here.
Yes.
One thing that is not commonly known about you is that you have a long history with Canadian football.
Yes.
In 1910, your father, George VI, then a young man, was gifted a Canadian football helmet by Earl Grey himself, the then Governor General of Canada.
Yes.
It clearly meant something to him, so much so that he kept it around long enough that a couple decades later, it became a matter of some fascination for his young daughter.
Yes.
Did you ever try to pick up that helmet?
It's so heavy.
I happen to know, and you revealed to me earlier during our pre-interview, that when no one was around, you would sneak into his office and you would pop that helmet on your head.
Fortunately, my father and I have about the same sort of shaped head.
Wow. Now, that must have been something. What was that like?
Not very comfortable.
Now, when you had that helmet on your head, did you ever try running around the palace with it on?
Yes.
What was that? What was that experience like?
And you can't look down.
And one day your father walked in and he saw you. And you told him, Papa, I want to play Canadian football. And without missing a beat, he said that you could not do that. Why couldn't you do that?
Because if you did, your neck would break. It would fall off.
And from that day on, you had to keep it a secret. Wow, well, thank you so much for that, Todd. Really a real exclusive there. So, with that turnover, it's going to be right back to the Argos. Argos are going back to Metcalf. It is going to be a run over center for Metcalf. Play is taking a little bit of time to develop. And Metcalf picks up 3. So that's a 3-yard gain there for Metcalf. It's going to be 2nd and 7 from the Argos. Norman, is that the 34-yard line?
That is the 34-yard line. Oh, yeah, that was the rules pedants there. He really likes to be very specific about every particular action that's going on. So he was quite happy to announce that this is the 34-yard line.
Thank you, rules pedant. It's been a while. It's great to see you again. Mark Jackson, he's back. It's a screen pass off to Metcalf. Metcalf picks up, has 4 in the air, and he picks up an additional 10 yards on the ground. They have the first down, and what? Metcalf just laterals the ball to Terry Greer, who picks up an additional 25 yards.
It's a lateral? He lateraled the ball? Wow.
25 yards there for the Argos. That is, let me do some math here.
Working.
So that's 4 plus 10 plus 25. That's a 39-yard play there. What a way to get your very first down of the game. And the Argos are right back onto the Ottawa side of the field.
Well, don't you just love seeing those completely unnecessary laterals that bring in so much risk, but so much fun?
That is one thing about this game. They really like to throw the ball.
And he already had the first down. But, sometimes you just can't say no to fun.
Exactly. In the Canadian Armchair Football League, it's not only the quarterback that gets to throw the ball. So with a minute and a half remaining in the first quarter, Jackson is going to go right back to Greer for the long pass. And that ball is incomplete. Incomplete once again. He got a little bit too excited there and overthrew the ball.
Yeah, they were getting a little greedy there. Just thought that every play can be a big play. But yeah, once you throw a completely unnecessary lateral and pick up an extra 25 yards, you really start to believe that anything can happen.
And in this league, honestly, anything could. So we have Jackson handing it off to Metcalf. This is a reverse. And it's a loss of 2. A loss of 2. So that pushes them back. So a momentary experience of excitement there for the Argonauts has turned into bitter disappointment on the Ottawa side of the field.
Third down.
3rd and 12 at the 39-yard line. So with only seconds remaining in the first quarter, we have
Zenon and Rishishin
on for the extra. Sorry, apologies. On for the kickoff. Well, I'll try that one more time.
Well, he knows he has some kind of kick coming up here.
There are just, we don't have dedicated place kickers here in the Canadian Armchair Football League. If you're a kicker, you do it all, and sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, especially for me when I'm trying to call the play.
But Zenon doesn't seem to mind. He's happy as long as he can kick.
Less thinking, more kicking.
So Zenon is on for the field goal. This would be a 46-yard field goal.
Oh, it's an incredible goal! An absolute screamer!
Goodness. So with that, it's 6-0 for the Argonauts. Norman, how did you feel about that one? That was a real...
Well, I've been watching a little bit of the soccer, and those British announcers, they get really excited when there's a field goal. But, you listen to football here, and it's like, oh, it's up, it's good, carrying on. That was a 46-yard goal. That, if you saw that in your soccer game, you'd be really excited. So I just wanted to try out bringing some excitement to the field goal kicking game. I think I'm the only one here getting excited, but that was a real screamer of a field goal. Zenon's happy.
There is only goal.
The kicker's happy. Everybody else is carrying on, but that was good. That was a good moment.
That was a great moment. So it's 6-0 for the hometown Argos. There are 15 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
Greetings from the desk of Dr. Footius Ballunicus. In the Indian state of Manipur, the game of Yubi Lakpi is played. In this game, men rub their bodies with mustard oil to become slippery and difficult to grapple. They then seize a coconut soaked in oil and attempt to carry it to the goal, where it is presented to the chief guest of the contest, known as the king. In modern play, there are 7 men to a side. But in earlier times, the man with the coconut faced all the other players alone. And welcome back from that little time warp as we find ourselves back on the football field. 2 field goals have the Argos up, and now they're ready to kick it once again. A different kind of kick, a kick off.
Thank you very much for that, Norman. We have Zenon on for the kickoff. That kick is up. And that is a 55-yard kickoff that will bring the ball down to the 10-yard line. Robert Sparks is there, and he picks up 20 yards. So that's going to bring the ball up to the 20-yard line. So we have the Ottawa offense onto the field. They are going for a run from option. Is Richard Crump with the ball. And Bruce Clark is in there, and Bruce Clark strips out the ball. It is a fumble on the play. Goodness. A fumble and a loss of 5 on the play. Wow. So that was the final play of the first quarter. When we come back, the Argos will have the ball on the Ottawa 25-yard line. Norman, they looks as though it's like they've been elected to Parliament and they've just moved to Ottawa and they're on Ottawa's side of the field the entire game. That is the third turnover for these Ottawa Rough Riders.
Well, he can't get anything right in Ottawa. I mean, insert your political comment here.
Looks like those clowns in Congress did it again. What a bunch of clowns.
How does he keep up with the news like that?
Ottawa is just all over the place. I mean, they might as well just be tossing the ball up in the air and seeing what happens.
Norman, so here we are. It is the end of the first quarter. It is 6-0 for the Argos. How do you think that first quarter went there, Norman?
That was a comedy of errors for Ottawa, and so if you're an Argos fan, you've got to be having a little bit of fun, and if you're an Ottawa fan, you have to be reconsidering why you follow football.
Well, with that, we will see you next time for the second quarter of the Ottawa Rough Riders on the road at Exhibition Stadium with the Toronto Argonauts.
Next time on Third and Roll.
Well, just when it seemed like they were stopping every possible run.
Has this happened before? It looks as though they are actually on the Toronto side of the field.
Oh, it's an incredible... No, it's just a regular field goal.
Yes.
Yep. Third and Roll is an independent Canadian football board game podcast recorded in Toronto, Ontario in 2019. Today's episode features the voices of Spencer, Alex, and Subi.
This works for me.
Thanks, Subi. Our cover art is illustrated by Bryce Hall. This episode was edited by
Spencer Adams from Toronto.
Our theme music is Magic Mountain by Jazzar. Brett Brannigan's theme is The Spellbreaker by Tritachyon. Both songs used through a Creative Commons Attribution License and freemusicarchive.org. Ron Booman's theme is Bach's Mach für Daak, performed by United States Army Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps. The Pedant's theme is Bach's Variato una 5 clave, performed by Kimiko Ishizaka. Todd Gray's interview music is Bach's Aria Variata, Variation No. 3, performed by Brandon Kinsella. That's a lot of Bach. All Bach pieces used are in the public domain. If you'd like to help support the show, you can tell a friend or leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or whatever podcatcher you use. Or you can head on over to patreon.com/thirdandroll and become a patron to get exclusive early access to new game episodes and to become a recurring character on the show. If you want to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter @thirdandroll or send an email to thirdandroll@gmail.com. New episodes every Wednesday. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Third and Roll.
I'm not an afterthought, Spencer, but I'll move on.